Andy Cohen is finally breaking his silence, speaking out on all of the lawsuits, BravoCon getting put on pause, and more. We also have Real Housewives of Orange County. Jen, her new fiance Ryan. Remember Dick Pic Ryan? Dick Pic Ryan is now in trouble with the feds. We're going to get into all of that. And then, is Lala Kent actually joining the Valley? Let's talk about it. You're listening to No Filter with Zach Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, served fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in. Welcome on in, welcome on in, welcome on in. Thank you guys for adjusting to this week's different schedule. I know normally we stream first thing in the morning, but Wednesday and Thursday, I've had to do pre-records because I did some interviews with Love Undercover stars, several stars from Peacock's new show, Love Undercover, which as of today, Thursday, I believe the first 3 episodes have dropped, so you can stream those now on Peacock. Yesterday, I had a couple of the guys on, poked into their dating life a little bit. And then today I have on pro soccer players Sebastián Fassi and Lloyd Jones. Both so hot, so hunky, just like delicious, funny, charismatic. They have a cute bromance going on. Oh God, my skin's looking a little dewy. I look like I have like highlighter on. Sorry, I just adjusted some of the lighting in the studio. And I have to say, this lighting is popping. It's making me look like dewy and glowy. I also, side note, touched up my spray tan because I did the Schwartz and Sandy's night. So I wanted to make sure I was like showing off my arms because my arms are look at that. Just wanted to show off my arms. Ooh, wow. Look at that. But listen, a good spray tan can go a long way and it makes you look hot. So yeah, I am a little tan. And then when you wear a white shirt and you do it with the tan, you have the warm light. Like, listen, I'm feeling myself. Feeling myself. So yeah, Love Undercover out on Peacock now. Be sure to check it out, guys. And you can also check out the extended Vanderpump Rules finale. I tried to watch it on Peacock. It was extended and uncensored. I always love an uncensored episode. There wasn't a whole lot more that came in the uncensored or the extended version of the finale. We see they have like this cute moment of like Brock dancing at the finale party. And then I saw someone on Instagram, forgive me for not remembering the handle, but I did see someone on Instagram shout out because it was hilarious. They put a montage of Brock dancing and then they put that song, they added that song, Bust Down Tatiana. It's like, bust down Tatiana, let me see you bust down. And then it's like literally just like giant Brock dancing in his gold suit. And it's hilarious. So props to whoever did that. I'm sorry, I don't remember your handle. I saw it in passing and then wanted to repost it. But by the time I went back into Instagram, I lost it. But if anybody does see it, please DM it to me because I want to reshare it. And then they also added in this scene with the guy. Remember we saw that fight with the guy when he was like fighting with security and threw that glass of wine? You do see that scene in the extended version on Peacock. Not a whole lot. I understand why they edited out of the Bravo version because it didn't really have anything to do with anything. He was a dude, I believe is a client of Kyle Chan's or is married to a client of Kyle Chan's. Because obviously it was Kyle Chan's party, but I believe he was married to one of Kyle's clients. And I think from my own speculation, I think maybe we were a little amped up. Maybe we had a little more than alcohol. Maybe. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying maybe there may have been other substances. Other substances can mean a variety of things. Other substances could mean maybe a little too much Diet Coke. You know, you were a little amped up from too much Diet Coke. You were sipping on that Diet Coke and, you know, had a sugar high going. But he was very amped up. Looked like he may have been drinking a lot of Diet Coke. But, yeah, he was very on edge. But so it kind of appeared, and from what I had heard from that night, I'm bummed that I'm not bummed that I didn't go. I was invited to go, and then I was like, oh, I want to go. And then I was like, am I really going to fly up to San Francisco by myself and go to this party? And like, it would have been interesting. I probably would have been like this guy who was really just trying to crash the Vanderpump Rules crew. He wanted to be like around them and party with them. And I think Lala on her podcast even said like he kept trying to get her to drink and he was drinking everybody else's alcohol and he kept like pressuring her to take shots. And she's like, I don't drink, I'm sober. And he's like, no, take a shot, take a shot, take a shot. And she's like, no, I don't want to take a shot, take a shot, take a shot. So she didn't take a shot, take a shot, take a shot. And then the cast told security, like, can you keep him out of our area? And so security was preventing him from getting into that area. And then I think that just kind of like amped him up even more because security is like trying to stop him. And then when you're not in your right state of mind, maybe you've been drinking a little too much or, maybe had a little too much Diet Coke. You never know. You just get a little excited and, you kind of lose sight of perspective. And so it seemed like the guy was having an issue with security preventing him from gaining access to the cast in their VIP area. Not so much that he had an issue with Sandoval, because I think that was kind of the narrative is this guy like flipped out and like threw a glass of wine at Sandoval. It just seemed like he got really amped up and Sandoval happened to be right there like, whoa, what's going on? And, Sandoval loves to play a hero. So he kind of like inserted himself and jumped in and, wanted to prevent the guy. But also, like, that's not a bad thing. People are like mad. They're like, oh, Sandoval always has to try to be a hero. But I'm also like, this man literally had a chair and he was going to throw it at the cast members who was there? Sheena and Lala and Allie. Like, yeah, if you see a crazy man grab a chair and he's going to throw it towards a group of women, I would want somebody to step in and intercept there. I'm not really, upset with Sandoval for inserting himself. Regardless of his motives, I think that was a wise decision on Sandoval's part. Okay, what else? So that's part of the extended version. So you can see that play out. But God, I keep thinking about that finale. It was really good. I keep thinking about those last couple of minutes, which I will say there was no extension of the final. I thought that there would be maybe a little bit more to that final scene. From what I saw on Peacock, I don't remember there being... aside from just getting the uncensored version, there wasn't much of an extension to that final scene, but it does still hit the same way. Seeing them all together and seeing them as babies and seeing little baby James is just a little baby. He was like 22. Oh, man. It was just all the feels, right? All the feels. There was a report that came out in Page 6. So Page 6 is reporting that Lala Kent is currently in talks to join the Valley, which I don't think any of us are surprised by. I mean, obviously, she just bought a house in the Valley. Sheena just bought a house in the Valley. Would not be surprised if they end up joining the Valley, knowing that, like, I think Vanderpump could potentially get a reboot. I think that's kind of what this was. Maybe it'll be a reboot with the Toms, and maybe Vanderpump Rules will focus on the staff at the different restaurants and how Schwartz and Sandoval are managing the staff at the restaurants along with Lisa Vanderpump. I don't know. I'm not sure how they plan to move Vanderpump Rules forward, but I don't know. I don't think they're just going to move all of the cast members over to the Valley, because the Valley seems to be pretty strong and stable on its own, as does Vanderpump Rules, but it's obvious that there's the current cast of Vanderpump Rules is not working anymore. Ariana and Katie are on an island, and there will need to be some sort of shift, shake up, whatever. I'm sorry, I keep seeing how dewy my cheek looks. My skin's just looking very dewy today, and it like legit looks like I'm wearing highlighter, and I swear I'm not wearing any highlighter. Like, when the girls put like the highlighter on their cheek, like this is the look that the Instagram girlies actually want. They want this little highlighter glow. Sorry, I'm busy checking myself out in the camera. But we'll see. I mean, I'm not surprised that Lala's in talks. I could see Lala and Sheena possibly moving over and maybe them doing, like I said, some revamped version of Vanderpump Rules. It seems like production has made it clear that Vanderpump Rules is not done. This is not a series finale. It's kind of just like put on ice, put on pause. But I mean, we also saw that kind of happen with Shaws of Sunset, where it was just kind of like put on pause for a second and then it just never came back. So I don't know. I mean, that was also kind of what happened with like Real Houses of Miami. They just like put it on pause for 8 years and then picked it back. I mean, who knows? Listen, Vanderpump Rules could return in 8 years as a Peacock exclusive. There you go. Yeah. So that's all. Let's talk about the real juicy stuff, okay? We have Ryan, who is Jen's fiance, on her new fiance. We remember him from last season. He was the boyfriend with the dick pics. And then they launched dick pic merch. He's under fire. Do we want to start with that or do we want to start with Andy Cohen? Let's start with the Ryan stuff. So it's not as easy to I had to really try to understand what the situation was. It was originally reported by ESPN, which is funny that one of my the main source that we're going to be talking about is ESPN. They're the I don't know. Normally we're like, oh, this was reported in Page Six, or it was the LA Times. ESPN, it's just it's sports world, and it's so funny that that's who broke this story, and we're talking about it, and it's Housewives. But that said, so we have a Dodger, we have a Japanese interpreter, we have a reality star, we have a bookie. Okay. These are the four main players with exception for the OC housewife, right? But the OC housewife doesn't really factor in, but we'll kind of get to her towards the end. So let me just explain the situation to you because it was very confusing to me and I didn't understand. I was like, wait, who stole money from who and who's who and how, what? How does an interpreter have a bank account that belongs to a Dodger? And why is Ryan getting money that he shouldn't be getting? And why, but he's not a bookie? What? Let me break it down for you so that we can understand what is being alleged, okay? All per ESPN. So Shohei Ohtani is a current Dodger player. He's an MLB star, plays for the Dodgers. He's Japanese, okay? Shohei. I will, moving forward, refer to him as the Dodger player, okay? He's the MLB player. Then we have his interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara. Ippei Mizuhara. He is the Dodgers interpreter, okay? Because I believe the Dodger doesn't speak English or has trouble, doesn't fully speak English. He's Japanese. So he has an interpreter to help, interpret for him, okay? So we have the Dodger player and his interpreter that works for him. Then we have in Ryan, Jen Padrani's fiance, Dick Pic Ryan. We remember him from last season. Tamara Judge was very skeptical of him, had a lot of questions. We saw Jen decided to stay with Ryan, and now we see that they recently got engaged, which I have a hard time believing Jen did not know anything about this, but we'll get into that in a sec. So the interpreter, and then we have the bookie. The bookie is Matthew Bauer. Bowyer. I'm assuming that's Bauer. So the bookie is the last part of this, okay? But so we have the interpreter, and the interpreter had access to the Dodger player's bank account, okay? This dates back to 2021, so a few years ago. This is when Shohei, the Dodger player, was not with the Dodgers. He was with the Angels, okay? And he had his interpreter, and they were with the Angels. Now they're with the Dodgers. So the interpreter apparently helped the Dodger set up a bank account in Arizona. That way he could receive his MLB checks. The Dodger can receive them, okay? But the interpreter was the one that helped him set everything up because obviously he's Japanese. He's not from the States. This is all foreign to him. He doesn't speak English, from my understanding, or at least has limited English. And so that's why the interpreter is here, which is also kind of fucked up that you're the interpreter. This guy literally is in a foreign country, does not, culturally, everything is just so different, and that he has to trust you because he literally does not speak the language. So you are his access to the world, and you fuck him over in this way. It's really kind of twisted. But anyway, so the interpreter ends up changing all of the details on the bank accounts to be his information. So his email address, his phone number. So if the banks call and they're like, hey, are we authorizing this charge? He is the one that's getting and intercepting those calls. Now, he could also argue, oh, well, I needed to make sure I was the one in communication because I'm his interpreter. So they needed to call me because if, Chase Bank, I'm just saying Chase, or Wells Fargo or whoever decides to call up the Dodger player, then he's not going to be able to communicate with them because he doesn't speak English, and so I have to speak on behalf of him. I'm just assuming. That's my own speculation as to why he would change the info over, okay? But now that the info's all in his name, and not in his name, it's obviously still in the Dodgers' name, but the interpreter now has access, and the communication is all through the interpreter. He then starts pretending to be the Dodger at times to get authorization. Now, I would also imagine with the language barrier, that may be a bit challenging. So sometimes you're just like, yeah, I'm not going to put the Dodger on the phone. I'm just going to pretend to be the Dodger to get this authorization, whatever. Okay. But it seems like he then started to abuse that system. Okay. So not only was he dipping into the bank account and, just like he was doing a little Tom Girardi mess, but he was also getting the Dodger to like pay for stuff for him. Like he's like, oh my God, my teeth, I need help with my teeth. And so, he's Cardi B, got a bag and fixed my teeth. He got the Dodger to give him 60 grand for his teeth on top of the money that he was allegedly stealing from the bank account. So not only was he taking the money out at his own leisure, but he was also getting the Dodger to give him additional money, being like, hey, my teeth, I need 60 grand on a new grill. Again, the abuse of trust in this situation is really twisted. But so this interpreter apparently had a gambling addiction or gambling issues, right? That's what's being alleged here. And this interpreter was apparently taking money from the Dodgers account and wiring the money to Ryan, Jen's current fiance. Dick Pic Ryan was getting money that belonged to the Dodger that the interpreter was stealing. Okay? Again, very Tom Girardi, taking somebody else's money and putting it over here and paying for this that doesn't belong to you, that, mess, right? So these payments to Ryan were for alleged gambling debts to an alleged bookmaker here in California, Matthew Bauer, okay? Or Bowyer. It's Bowyer. Bowyer? I'm going to call him Matthew. Well, we're going to call him the bookie, okay? So interpreter, gambling addiction, owes bookie money. Ryan somehow is working for the bookie, okay? So now that it's all out, the interpreter has pled guilty to one count of bank fraud and one count of subscribing to a false tax return, okay? According to ESPN, the interpreter stole nearly $17 million from the Dodger and used this money to pay off some of his gambling debts. So how does Ryan fit into all of this? Ryan, Jen's fiance from Real Houses of Orange County, Ryan was allegedly an associate. That's how he's being referred to, an associate to the bookie, okay? And the bookie was telling the interpreter to wire the money to Ryan. Now, why is the money going to Ryan? We don't know exactly why Ryan was receiving these payments and not Matthew, the bookie. We just know that Ryan is listed as an associate. He was an associate of the bookie, the company you keep, right? Uncertain how much of that $17 million was given to Ryan or given to the bookie, because we do know there were things like the dental work, or there was like some baseball cards that he convinced the Dodger to like buy so that they can like resell them, and there were things that he was asking for that money for, and then also taking them. It's messy, and he took $17 million. That's a lot of money. That's not chump change. This poor Dodger. But also, that's some good money that you're making since 2021. Making that kind of where you can just casually like accidentally not know what happened to $17 million. Like, I don't know, you're making some good money. How much are these Dodgers making? I need to find me a Dodger. I don't care if you speak English. I'll be your interpreter. You can interpret my body. My body is a wonderland. I'm Sheena Shea with John Mayer. Ayer. So we do know that Ryan and the bookie have apparently been friends for 20 years and they were gambling buddies, right? They've been reportedly spotted out at casinos together, out in Vegas, and would use marker accounts that Ryan would pay into with the money that he was getting from the interpreter. Now, according to Ryan's attorney, Ryan is cooperating with the feds in exchange for immunity, okay? And his attorney has also made it clear that Ryan is not a bookmaker. He's not a bookie. He's not a sub-bookie. They're like, Ryan doesn't do that, okay? He just happens to know this guy for 20 years and was collecting payments on his behalf, but he's not into any of that. He's not into that business, okay? But, like, why are you taking an immunity deal? You don't take an immunity deal if you're innocent. You take an immunity deal if there's information that you can provide that could incriminate you. That's why you take an immunity deal. You want to make sure you're protected. What do you need protecting from is my question, okay? Nobody that's innocent takes it. I mean, I guess it is a smart precaution regardless, but also when you're working with the feds and you have an immunity deal, that tells me you were probably doing some shady shit. And you don't want that shady shit to come back and haunt you because you have information that's not only going to reveal shady shit about other people, but that's also going to reveal shady shit about you. Curious if he's going to turn on the bookie. I mean, he's apparently been friends with the bookie for 20 years. Obviously, right now they're going after the interpreter because the poor Dodger lost $17 million. So the interpreter is the one that's at the center of all of this right now because he was the one that was actually stealing the money. Uncertain if now they're going to try to go after the bookie, if they even really have anything on him, or if Ryan's testimony is going to provide further. I mean, because listen, the interpreter's already pled guilty to, you know, his bank fraud and his tax return thing that he pled guilty to. So right now the interpreter is facing 33 years in prison, and he faces $1.25 million in fines. That's on top of restitution. Remember, we learned a lot about restitution with Jen Shah. So interpreter is going to be facing a lot of, I mean, listen, when you accidentally just kind of skim off and steal $17 million, it's going to come with a lot of, I mean, that's a lot of gambling debt, though. 17 mil that's when you got to run off to Kosovo. But so, sounds like Ryan, even though he is denying it through his attorney, sounds like he may have been like an unofficial bookie, like a bookie without the title, you know? The difference between a hooker and a hoe is a paycheck. Was he the hoe in this situation? He's not a hooker. Well, I don't know. He's like saying, no, I was having sex for the fun of it, not for the paycheck. The paycheck just also happened to come in. What am I supposed to do if they gave me a gift for my good coochie? You know? Like, what other associate would Ryan necessarily be? Like, what was he associating with you with if you weren't doing what it looks like you were doing? You know, from my perception, not an accusation, just a perception. But like, he was receiving payments from this bank account that belonged to the Dodger. So, I mean, receiving payments on behalf of the bookie sounds a little sketchy. Don't know, but it sounds sketch. And from what I've heard, Jen is claiming that she's allegedly claiming that Ryan is innocent. He didn't do what he's being accused of doing. It looks bad, but it's not bad. And he's in good faith working with the feds. And then Tamara Judge posted something on social media, and she was just basically alluding to the fact that she feels vindicated because she always knew that he was a shady dude, and she called it out. And now here we are. He was a shady dude, and she called it out. Mm-hmm. Listen, Tamara knows what Tamara's doing. Okay. All right. Let's talk that. We'll see how this unfolds. As of right now, there are no charges against Ryan. Nothing's going to happen to Ryan. If he's working with the feds and he took an immunity deal, nothing is going to happen to Ryan. He's going to get out of this scot-free. But this may then get the blue light put on Ryan, and we're going to see all the stains on his bed. Because now there's going to be attention there. Now there's going to be reason to look into it. So he may not get caught for this specifically, but it seems like he was doing some shady shit that he may end up getting caught for something. We shall see. Let's talk Andy Cohen. Andy Cohen. Let's get it. Andy Cohen. So he did an article, an interview, one-on-one, semi-fluff piece. But he did a one-on-one sit-down with The Hollywood Reporter. I actually enjoyed this interview. I read it mostly in the beginning and then kind of skimmed it towards the end. But so it's clear that this was like part of a PR strategy. Obviously, we know he hired a crisis management team after all the lawsuits starting to come out and the accusations starting to come out. But I will say, I think he did a really good job with this interview. I think he did a really good job with his answers. He seemed very open and honest. Obviously, there are things that he can't talk about legally. But, you know, in terms of like controversy, scandal, not specific to the lawsuits directly, but like he was pretty open, you know? And I actually, listen, crisis PR team did a good job. the piece actually, I don't think that the interviewer was easy on Andy. Obviously, there were times when Andy kind of got pushed a little bit in some things where, like, there was one point where where Andy made a comment about how he believes Real Housewives is feminist. And the reporter's like, feminist? Really? You think the Real Housewives franchise is feminist? And he kind of pushed back on that. And Andy was like, yeah, I do think that it's feminist. They're like, but people think that it's more of like a gay man's perception of what a woman is, and in reality, that's not feminist to women. It's, pro-gay dude or whatever. And Andy's like, no, I think it is feminist because... Well, yes, the audience is predominantly gay men that love and adore Housewives. At the same time, you also have these women that are living their lives very openly. And he references the New York women like Sonia and Luann and Ramona who have, had a fall from grace and got divorced. And we watch them have to pick up the pieces of their lives and put it back together. And I do think that there is an empowering element of Real Housewives, right? And I know people are like, oh my God, you can't say that because you're a gay man. Okay. I don't know. I consider myself pretty feminist. I was raised by women. I believe women are the superior sex. Like, I suck dick, but I am very much a champion of women, which is why it's laughable when people try to call me sexist. But I understood Andy's point, right? To like the fact that, there are elements of it that are very drama and do pit women against each other. But at the same time, there are elements of it that are empowering. You get to see women who, like Erica Jane, right? Ends up divorcing Tom, life goes up in flames, shambles, whatever. And then you see her slowly starting to build her life back after, getting beaten up by her husband or through the scandal. And so you see these women, you see a lot of them putting their pieces to their lives back together. You see them starting businesses. You see someone like Bethany Frankel, who openly talked about not being able to pay her rent and then was able to use this opportunity to catapult this skinny girl brand that she had built and build a career for herself. And I do think that is empowering. And it does also show women that there is life after divorce. There's life after love. Here I am, quoting 80s love songs. You can build businesses. I think that there are elements of it that, are equal parts, trash reality television and maybe, women not supporting other women. But then at the same time, I do think that there is an element of it, right? There's fabric in there of there being an empowering message that women can take away from the show. But my point was the interviewer does have moments where they, they go back and forth. But he talks about how, because they ask about the challenges with culture and how culture shifted and how, the shows, the way that they film things and what they would air, before compared to what they would air now, like it's very different, right? There were a lot of things that were aired in the past that probably wouldn't make the cut today. And they reference, he said there were two brothers and one of them called the other brother an FAG. And and how today we wouldn't say that word and that wouldn't be aired, or that would be bleeped out on camera because it was a slur. But he's like, but that's how two, teenage brothers talked to each other in 2009. Obviously we've, as a culture, grown and changed. He's like, so things have grown and changed. He's like, and the hard part is not only have we grown and learned a lot more, he's like, but with social media and like with Twitter, we're now in this age of outrage culture. And that's affected the shows. It affects how they film them, what they want to focus on. It affects how the women or the cast members behave on camera, because sometimes they're going to self-censor a lot more. It affects what gets edited, what gets left in, what gets taken out, how things are addressed at the reunion, like all of those things, right? And so in some ways it is a lot more PC, the shows, but in a lot of other ways, he said it has helped because as we pushed culture forward, we've also realized that there were all of these predominantly white casts like Southern Charm and like Summer House. And, now they acknowledge the importance of adding diversity and, how that has shifted how they approach casting and, how they approach certain storylines and whatnot. So yeah, it's become a little more woke and a little more PC, but at the same time, it also has, helped push conversations and help, keep up with the times, with where we're at culturally. Because not only, has television changed since 2009, but like we've also changed and evolved since 2009 with a lot of stuff that's happened within our culture. So I appreciated that. He doesn't talk much about the lawsuits because he's like, legally I can't, but he does speak to, the alcohol usage on set. And he references that the people that you don't need alcohol for drama. Because I think that's kind of the point that the reporter was trying to make in asking him these questions, was about how they use alcohol, like they would need alcohol for the drama, and how Bravo's possibly, or the production companies are, inducing them with alcohol for drama. And Andy's like, well, we actually do a really good job of casting people that don't need alcohol to make the drama. Like, sure, alcohol is involved and people drink at their own leisure, but alcohol is not what makes the drama. He's like, there are plenty of people like Lisa Rinna and Margaret Josephs who are very much truth cannons. They're going to say what's on their mind. They don't need alcohol to do that. Margaret drinks Diet Coke, So he's like, alcohol is not, like, that's not the point. And which I get, and I agree with. I think there are plenty of people that we've seen get sober on these shows. There are plenty of people that stay sober on these shows. I do think that it does become challenging when you have people with like an alcohol addiction. But at the same time, you have somebody like Lala Kent, who is now sober and identifies as an alcoholic, so having alcohol use disorder, right, which is what Leah McSweeney was referencing. And, she's been able to navigate that, but it's also her own personal responsibility to navigate that. So there's that. When it comes to residuals, he had a really hot take when he talked about reality stars getting paid residuals. And he also makes it clear, he's like, I'm speaking for myself, and this is my own personal opinion and perspective. I'm not speaking for Bravo. But he says that with reality stars choosing to sign up on these shows, he says that he sees it as more of a buyout, with the opportunity to gain exposure. He says that, yes, actors get residuals, but actors also like go to school. This is their craft. They turn this into their full-time profession, and they act on shows for their entire career. And they go from one show to the next show to the next show, sometimes simultaneously taping multiple shows. And like, this is their profession, right? He says you don't go to school to become a reality star, which in that perspective, I was like, okay, I kind of get it. I do think that it's tough when you have a network like Bravo that just continues to re-air these shows over and over and over, and they're making a lot of money. But at the same time, I get the buyout side of it, right? You don't go to school to become a reality star. And most reality stars, Andy says, already have other jobs. Like, they already are making an income. They're not joining reality TV to be their sole income. Like, reality TV just follows their lives that already exist with their jobs that they already have. And he mentions that the longer you're on the show, the higher your salary becomes. That, it's not a forever job, but it can definitely, there's enough exposure to help you launch a bigger career. Now, it is a gamble, because not only are you investing in the potential of having a bigger career, but you're also investing in the potential of it ruining your reputation. But again, that's the gamble that you have to take. And he's like, nobody's forcing you to do reality television. If you want to be an actor and you want to pursue acting, then become an actor and pursue acting, and that's your trajectory, right? But if you're going to join a reality show, you're typically, one, not joining it because you want this to be your full-time job. You're not going to make a career out of it necessarily. And when you do, it does become really challenging because you become dependent on what shows are available to you. But like, it can help you launch a bigger career, as long as you seize the opportunity correctly. There's plenty of payoffs in it. So yeah, he talks about BravoCon. He says that the decision to put BravoCon on pause for 2024, that they made that decision 8 months ago. So what are we in May? That's 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's, wow, before going into this year's BravoCon. So it's interesting. Well, I guess that's when they were talking about it. Maybe they were reconsidering it and waiting until BravoCon last year finished. I don't know. You typically have to plan those things pretty far in advance, though, especially if you're going to stick to Vegas. So, yeah, he says that, which makes sense, right? Because I feel like with BravoCon, like, you can't have BravoCon every year because it's just going to feel like the same thing. It's the same people. There's not a lot that's changed. Like, producers have already given all the leaks. aside from more interactive games and interview opportunities with the stars, that there's not a whole lot of newness that can come from BravoCon that I think taking a year off, gives people an opportunity to refresh. So I think a pause is healthy. And then the article after that kind of gets more into his career and his personal life and all of that sort of stuff. So, yeah. They compare him a lot to like Andy Warhol and say that he very much loves celebrity and he loves being a celebrity himself and, all of that sort of stuff. So, get it, Andy Cohen. Get it. So yeah, there you go. That was the Andy Cohen recap. And it is Mother's Day this weekend, so I wanted to wish all the moms, all the mamas, all the baby mamas, all the baby mamas, all the baby mamas. Wanted to wish you a happy Mother's Day. If you guys, again, if you want to book a cameo, if it's a birthday, maybe your mama loves me, maybe you are a mom and you want your kids to get a personalized message from me. I've been doing lots of personalized messages lately on Cameo. The link below, you can book a cameo with me using the link in the description below. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I've yelled at people's husbands. I've given birthday shout outs. I've given pep talks. I've given business shout outs. There's a woman in Chicago and she's like, I have a business and we have, all these Real Housewives cocktails and stuff. And she's like, can you shout out my business? I'm like, yeah, let me shout out your business. So if you have a business that you want me to shout out on Cameo, if you have a friend that you want me to wish happy birthday to, if you have a mom that you want me to send some Mother's Day love to, you can book a personalized message from me on Cameo right now. So go. Get it. Okay. Let's move into my interview, my Love Undercover interview, which, by the way, guys, just as a reminder, Peacock's new show, Love Undercover, it's all of these pro athletes, pro soccer players, pro football players from other countries coming together in Los Angeles, and they're dating collectively, but they have to conceal who they really are. They can't tell any of these women that they're dating that they are famous or that they're pro athletes or that they're uber wealthy, which, listen, we saw Dodger from the top of the show. He accidentally lost $17 million that got stolen from an interpreter. So these men makes money. So they have to find love and try to get women to, I guess, become attracted to them based off of not their status or wealth or fame, but based off of their personalities and who they are. So their looks. They are very hunky. And I've got two of them on the show today, Sebastián and Lloyd, who are great. They have a very fun bromance, but you guys can check out Love Undercover on Peacock. I believe today, Thursday, May 9th, today you can start streaming the first 3 batches. Or they're going to roll out in 3 batches. And you can catch the first batch right now on Peacock. So be sure to tune in. Get it. They're good at making goals, but now they're ready to win the ultimate prize, a shot at love. From Peacock's new series, Love Undercover, please welcome pro soccer players Lloyd Jones and Sebastián Fassi. How are you, gentlemen?
All good, thank you. All good.
Hello, Zack.
Do you feel like you boys have found some love? Do you feel like there's love in your heart, be it self-love or maybe a lady?
Yeah, I might have.
I think that you'll have to watch the show to answer that question, bro.
No spoilers. Here I was hoping to get the exclusive scoop. The show is based on you guys having to hide your fame, hide your wealth from the ladies that you're dating. Do you feel like you normally lead with your career or with your wealth to attract women? Or do you feel like, you lean more on your good looks?
Stop being so kind, you.
Was it a
No, I
challenge
think
coming
that,
in? Was it a challenge
yeah,
kind of having to hide some of those naturally, attractive qualities that you guys possess?
the most difficult part, Zack, of it for me was not being able to speak about many things that involve football. Traveling, getting to know places, having a lifestyle that you can afford. Nice holidays, nice experiences, good restaurants, good clubs, getting to big cities. So it's something that, besides, even though if you don't talk about football, it's your lives, like I had to go on this date and the girl was like, yeah, I love Miami. And we couldn't talk, and I was like inside, like I spent Christmas last year in Miami, and we couldn't talk about that because I told her at the beginning that I couldn't afford traveling. So it's really hard to connect with a girl when you actually have very little things to talk about. So you have to go more about listening to her and getting to know her than they actually get to know you, because you are always within this limit of things that you can say. So that was the most challenging part, definitely.
Yeah. Lloyd, do you feel like you went in expecting to find your perfect match, or were you kind of just open to love and open to whatever the experience brought you?
Yeah, more the second. I was optimistic about it.
Hmm.
I've met a few girls in my time. I've only ever had like one girlfriend, so I wasn't thinking I'm going on this experience, I'm 100% going to find love. But as you see the show progress, I may have found myself pleasantly surprised, or I may have not have either. So,
Now you guys are two of the younger guys that were joining into the group. Do you feel like that was a bit of an advantage competing with some of the other pro athletes, pro ballers?
yeah, I think that helps.
I wouldn't
I think
put,
to be fair, I think it
yeah.
depends on the girl. It depends on what the girl was looking for. If you wanted someone a bit more mature, I don't think like when the first five girls walked in, it helped that they had their ages up. When some of these girls are like 24 walking in, they want a guy like 13 years older than I or whatever. But um, yeah, I think it helped in the main, but not
How
all.
how often did you guys lean on each other throughout the experiment? Because I feel like this is what's different from other dating shows. We have this camaraderie. We have a group of guys that kind of get to go through this experience together versus one suitor, and 20 different ladies signing up for that.
Yeah, it wasn't definitely a competition, and that I think that is what makes this show unique and so fully honest, and with this amazing bond between us, because we weren't competing with each other, no. uh all the time we were having each other's back. Of course we were laughing at each other, because every time they put someone on the spot, for everyone else it was really funny, and when we kind of made fun of that, but in the end they knew that you actually were supporting them, and we got into really deep conversations with each other. It's unbelievable how in such a short period of time we get to bond, and still today we are really close friends. Every time one of us is close to our town, we make the opportunity to see each other. We are constantly chatting. So it's a unique experience. The bond between us, it's amazing, and I think that was make this show really really fascinating. It's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Now, how did it feel going from being on the field to now going behind or in front of the camera and doing a reality show? It's a competition, but it's very different. How would you compare the two?
Oh, they are so like different ends of the spectrum. I found it so hard in the early stages, just loads of cameras watching you date. Normally, I'm either at a bar or in a nightclub, so I can go over for 2 minutes and
Yeah.
then leave if I want to. But I'm on a date with this girl for an hour, and yeah, sometimes you can't just get out of it the way you
Leave.
want to. Yeah, you can't leave. So I was trying to put it
You have to
like,
say, bro.
yeah, no, I was putting it politely, but yeah, I think that was hard just to be your
Yeah.
full self. Well, your full self, even though you can't be your full self because you're not being real about your job
Yeah.
um, in
Do
front
you
of a camera, in
do
front of
you
like
think
50.
that changed your like type and what you look for in a woman because you kind of were forced to, not just dip out after the first 2 minutes, but you actually had to get to know somebody on a deeper level? Do you feel like that kind of helped you in your dating game?
Yeah, I do massively. Um, I'm not saying I'm shallow, but you can be in certain places, in certain restaurants, and the
Yeah.
conversation is shallow. And like Seb said, you try and put the conversation on them. And when you actually get to know some of these girls, you get a connection with them and you understand more about them. And yeah, that's definitely, used it to my advantage since leaving the show.
W- yeah, you're learning, right? Hope you
Yeah.
took some notes after the experiment. What would you say was your biggest barrier to finding love or dating prior? Do you think it was because you were in just so many of those like maybe party environments, or you just weren't in the right environments to find a quality match?
No, we had amazing dates. I think I got the chance to go to some of the most beautiful places in LA, and that helped out a lot. I think our my biggest the difficulty that I found was to go on a date with so many girls,
Oh,
because you're in a
that sounds tough.
He's
So many
lying.
girls.
it is not to have fun. It's
Yeah.
actually really interesting because you actually don't care whether you forget the girl, because you're gonna date and then goodbye. I'm not gonna see
Yeah.
you again. But that wasn't our goal. We went in to find love, to actually fall in love. So you wanted to get to know each girl, but at the fourth or fifth date, you were like, okay, what did I say to this girl? Because I'm not having the time just to talk to you. I'm having to talk to 3, 4, 5 different other girls.
Right.
So that made things a little bit difficult to actually get to know them. If you want to have fun, obviously it's a dream come true. 18
The
girls,
more
you
the
have
merrier.
fun, you go
Yeah,
out.
there you go.
Yeah, the more the better. Yeah, but when you actually were trying to go deep on conversations, and you have such a short amount of time, I think that was kind of difficult, because you wanted to pay attention to the girls, you wanted to listen to them, you wanted to actually understand them, get to know them, and it's hard when you have 3 or 4 other girls in your mind, and trying to remember what they were saying. So it's kind of that was for me the hardest part.
Did you have to have a notebook and keep notes and keep track? Did you have an Excel sheet with all of the different women?
The names. I'm so bad with the names. So yeah, it was thankfully the boys were always around. I was like, well, bro, what was her name? I was like, oh, okay, nice, yeah. Yeah, I could sleep out, but yeah, for keeping track of the names, where it was really hard at the beginning. Then it just went
Yeah.
smoothly, but at the beginning, it
Well,
was like,
there was 3 Sophias, then there was Gabby, Abby, something else. Yeah, it got crazy. It
Yeah.
got crazy, the names.
Now,
Yeah.
I feel like when
Jackie. There was Jackie J,
Oh,
Jackie Bebe.
oh my God.
see, you got a good memory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I feel like when it comes to dating, we often think that if we're not in a good relationship or we're not in a relationship or we can't find one, it's because of the other person. It's everybody else, but it's never us. When we actually have to kind of do a little inner self work to find what our red flags are and how we're contributing to our current circumstances, what would you say were your biggest red flags that maybe you learned through this experience that you had to work through, aside
I
from a
said
bad memory?
about us or the
Yeah, about
girls.
yourself. Yeah, what did you learn about yourself in the process?
Um, to be more honest with how I'm feeling, I think like in certain situations, not that I'm lying to you, but I don't like be completely honest with how I'm feeling,
Mm,
but not realizing the other implications it's having on that other person. So
yeah.
if they don't get the full honesty, then they don't really know how you feel and how you're meant to move forward on that. And also, you can be hurting them.
Yeah. And you can't just ghost them if you're not feeling it. You have to kind of communicate that.
Yeah, and I think I found that tough. And don't get me wrong, I'm still definitely working on it. But yeah, I think that's helped me. But that was definitely my red flag.
Sebastian.
Yeah, same as Lloyd. At some times, I think it would have been so much easier for us to actually speak our truth, and say, okay, this is what I don't want, than actually expecting that things were going to change as time goes by. So yeah, that was kind of one of the biggest lessons that I learned.
Okay. Alternatively, what would you say is your number one or two green flag when looking for a partner? Like, what are the two qualities that you think really are important when trying to find your ideal match?
Seb?
I think that I have today. I'm not that old, but I'm not that young, so I'm pretty straightforward to what I want. I know what I want, and that's something that's not that common, even though it sounds easy. Okay, what do you want? So actually, right now, I'm on a point of my life where I know that this is what I want, that this is what I don't, and I'm not gonna waste your time. I'm not gonna waste my time. So yeah, I think that's one of the big qualities that I have. And I like to say, and I like to think myself as a good guy, an honest guy, that I try to do the best for everyone. I try to be kind and humble to everyone. So yeah, I think that those are kind of the two biggest green flags that I can tell you about myself.
Do you mean about the girls as well?
Yeah.
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 I'd say loyal and funny. Someone who can make me
Loyal.
laugh, but it's got my back and I can trust.
You want to ride or die?
Oh, 100%. Find me my Bonnie.
Bonnie and Clyde. So loyalty, you want to ride or die. You want her to be funny. Did you feel like, how did you find those qualities? What were the dates like, as they progress when you're trying to narrow, down who you're going to end up ideally taking home?
You know what? For me, I actually made it a little bit harder because there was like certain girls who had one of them, and
Mm,
then maybe another girl has the other side, what I'm looking for more.
mm,
And because, we were obviously with these girls for a period of time, but it still wasn't a massive period of time until they moved into the penthouse, I think. So I think that made it hard. But then when you get to know them and you're with them every day, you start narrowing it down sort of day by day. But it was definitely a process more than me knowing straight away.
Was it hard with the other guys also, dating women as well? Like, do you feel like there was a bit of an ego competition?
I don't think from anyone, for me personally, not all, but I don't think there was at all. Like, yeah, no one stepped on each other's toes really. And if a guy wanted to take a girl out or a girl was feeling one of my friends more than me, like, good luck to you. It's not more like, my ego's hurt a little bit. It was more in the early stages when they're walking in and you're like, oh no, what they're gonna say.
Yeah.
But
So it sounds like you guys don't have the baller reputation that most pro athletes tend to have.
No, we weren't competing.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Good.
And obviously there are some codes between us. So it was kind of like we knew how not to step on the line, and we knew because there are some footballer codes that they are not written down, they are not official, but you actually get to know them when you are in the game for so many years. When you have been in a locker room since you were a little boy, you grow up with these values, and you actually try not to break them. That's why you get like the big stories when a football player breaks these codes. It's all over the news, because it's something that you actually don't do. So that was one of the main things that helped us bond the way we did. We just were having each other's back. We were just having fun, and we actually wanted the other guy to be happy
Yeah.
and to find love. So it wasn't actually a competition, and I think that way makes this show so fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's one thing that I guess you don't really think about is that when you are on a team and you guys are working towards a collective goal, you're all on the team together. So there is that camaraderie. So you do have each other's backs. I would imagine that's kind of how everybody gels throughout the season of Love Undercover, is seen not only you building the connections with each of the women, but also the bromance that develops as time goes on and the team
Yes.
players that kind of
hey,
build.
if I could marry anyone from the show, it would have been Seb.
Yeah.
We have a special connection, and he knows it.
Uh, well, listen, that's at least one connection you're coming out of the show with it. There's one spoiler that you leave.
100%,
All
100%. Won't tell you anything else, but that's my guy right there.
right. Well, I look forward to watching it all unfold on Peacock. Love Undercover rolls out with its first 3 episodes dropping Thursday, May 9th. Gentlemen, I'm rooting for each of you. I hope not only do you get to take each other home, but hopefully you have some partners to go with it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Zach.
Guys.
Love talking to you, bro.